Ah, sim racing hardware. It's an industry that is dangerously similar to the wedding industry. There is always something more if you want to spend more. It usually starts with a Logitech G29. And look, I'm ignoring those cheap plastic toys you find on Amazon. Those don't give you an experience, they just give you a headache. But at the top end, you have rigs that simulate every pebble on the asphalt or slam actual G-forces into your chest. It is absolutely insane what money can buy these days. I bought my G29 3 years ago. In the early days, they were funny. I was literally using hand grip fitness trainers to wedge the wheel onto my desk so it wouldn't move. I had my pedals shoved against the wall so they wouldn't slide away under heavy braking. Luckily, I passed that, jerry-rigged, staged quickly, and got myself a proper seat. That was a game changer, not just for my lap times, but for my back pain. I started with Gran Turismo and stuck with it for almost 2 years. The single-player content was great, but the multiplayer? That was a different story. I don't want to talk down on everyone. There are great drivers on every platform, but if you're a mid-level driver like me, you usually end up in butcher lobbies, dominated by 8-year-olds who think every corner is a bowling alley. Because of that, I switched to iRacing. I started in the Mazda series to get familiar with what a real sim feels like. I got consistent, I got confident, but I hit a wall. I wanted to be more competitive, and I knew I needed an upgrade. A decent direct drive setup starts at €500. That is not a decision you make lightly. But after being poked by ads on social media day after day, I finally saw it. The discount on the Fanatec website. I thought it was the perfect reward for the years I spent on that G29. I didn't know it then. But clicking order on August 3rd was the start of a 47-day nightmare. So I finally pulled the trigger. I ordered the 5nm version of the Fanatec CSL DD QR2 ready-to-race bundle. Now, if you spend any time on Reddit or the forums, you know Fanatec shipping is legendary for the wrong reasons. In my case, it took 20 days. Nearly 3 weeks of checking my email and wondering if my money had just disappeared into a black hole. But when those boxes finally hit my doorstep, the frustration evaporated. Or at least, I thought it did. I spent that afternoon unboxing everything. There's a certain smell to new sim racing gear, that mix of electronics and machine metal, and I was soaking it in. This was the upgrade I had been waiting 3 years for. No more gear-driven noise, no more fitness trainers holding my desk together. This was the ready-to-race bundle, and looking at the QR2 system and the solid build of the base, I genuinely believed the wait was worth it. I was ready to plug it in and finally feel what a direct drive system could do for my lap times in iRacing. But as they say, the higher the expectations, the harder the fall. I treated this gear like it was made of glass. I carefully unpacked everything, followed the manual to the letter, and connected it all up. But the second I snapped that wheel onto the base, everything died. The base disconnected, the pedals vanished from the software, and the wheel started turning in this weird, erratic way, like it was possessed. I sat there in total disbelief. The formula wheel was dead on arrival. I didn't want to believe it. I spent hours online, searching every forum and trying every firmware trick the community suggests. I tried everything a human could possibly do to bring this thing to life. But at the end of the day, no resolution. It was a €500 paperweight. I wrote to customer support immediately, and then I waited. A few days later, they finally responded with a generic request for more details. I replied within minutes. Then, silence for another few days. Then they asked for a video. It was honestly a joke. It felt like they had a strict quota on how many emails they could send, and I was only allowed one every few days. This ping-pong game took 10 days of my life just to prove the hardware was broken. Finally, 10 days later, I received the return shipment labels. I boxed up the dead wheel, sent it back, and went back to the one thing I was becoming an expert at: waiting. Another 20 days crawled by. Just look at the timeline. I ordered this on August 3rd. It was now mid-September, and for over a month, this €500 investment was nothing but a ghost in my room. I hadn't turned a single lap. The replacement finally arrived on September 19th. I opened the package, expecting that, new gear, smell again, but instead, I got a shock. There, Right on the box was the word, refurbished. Think about that. I paid for a brand new premium product. I waited 47 days. And their solution was to take my new wheel and swap it for someone else's repaired secondhand unit. It was unbelievable. But here's the absolute kicker, the insult to injury. I plugged in this refurbished replacement, and it was dead too. The exact same issue. This refurbished piece of junk was broken right out of the box. At this point, it wasn't just bad luck anymore. It was a total failure of quality control. Fanatec didn't just send me a broken wheel. They sent me a message that they didn't care about my time or my money. After that second broken wheel, the honeymoon phase wasn't just over. It was dead. This wasn't a healthy relationship anymore, and I knew I had to get out. I decided to return everything. But of course, even breaking up with Fanatec isn't easy. I was back in the email quota cycle, waiting days for every response. Then, they sent me the wrong shipping labels. Another mistake. Another delay. It took 2 more weeks of fighting just to get the right paperwork to send their hardware back where it came from. Look, let's be real. This isn't Temu. You aren't selling €5 gadgets. When you are selling premium hardware at these prices, the absolute bare minimum is that it should work. It should not be dead on arrival. And on the rare occasion that it is, the replacement should be at my door in days, not 2 months later. The direct drive experience shouldn't start with a 60-day headache. For me, this process started on August 3rd and didn't truly end until September 29th. That is nearly 2 months of my life wasted on logistics instead of lap times. The only silver lining? They returned the money fast. I have to give credit where it's due. Within 10 days of them receiving the gear, the money was back in my account. But the excitement? The trust? That didn't come back quite as easily. So where does that leave me? From now on, I'm done. I will probably never go for Fanatec ever again. It's honestly sad, because for a long time, I thought this was the path for my setup. But that option is dead. I've decided to keep pushing with my G29 for now. I'm going to save my money and buy something actually better later on. But I can tell you one thing for sure. That thing won't be a Fanatec. Thanks for sticking with me through this 47-day saga. If you enjoyed the video or if it helped you make a decision on your next upgrade, please hit the like button and subscribe to follow the rest of my journey to 2K iRating. I want to hear from you though. Have you had a nightmare like this, or have you actually had a surprisingly good experience with them? Share your story in the comments so we can help each other out. I'll see you in the next one.